Okay, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Thanks all for joining. It's been a while since the last stream, but what better way to start off the new year than with another stream here, I guess. So, yeah, lovely to have you all here. And thanks for the nice greeting, Nites or Night Strike back or Night Strike BG. What is my favorite music? Um, I hear a lot of stuff. I do like some German or Austrian music. Um, so where the text is in German or Austrian. I hear some Rammstein. I hear some hip hop. It's really a broad mixture of music, to say it like this. So yeah. So yeah, hi everybody. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you too. Um, and yeah, I mean, will be an exciting year, I guess, 2026. Exciting and probably also frightening to some or a bit. A lot of stuff going on. I'm sure we'll talk about AI a bit. I just bought your React Native course like 10 minutes ago. That is awesome. I hope you'll get a lot out of this course. I hope you'll learn a lot about React Native and enjoy the course. And yeah, with that, I already prepared the the Tailwind uh, post by Adam Wethan here. Where is it? Um, because that is a big story today. I created a YouTube video about that. But let's start with the tech stack question. And I'll try to answer as many questions as possible, by the way. I'll do my best to keep it up. So yeah, Tailwind will be a thing. And what's the best tech stack in 2026? So let's see. Best tech stack 2026. Whoops, that's very big now. Obviously, I've said it before, like there is a default tech stack, and that would be TypeScript, React, Next.js, and funnily enough, Tailwind. And Tailwind is funny because obviously today, in case you missed it, big news yesterday actually is that Tailwind is facing some problems, some financial problems, because essentially everybody's using the Tailwind. AI is writing a lot of Tailwind code, but they made money or they make money partly of people visiting their site, going to their documentation, and then discovering that there is Tailwind Plus, which is in the end a collection of code snippets, a collection of components, and buying that. That is their business model. And then there also are sponsorships. There are partners that can sponsor them. So that is how they make money, and they're not making enough because fewer and fewer people are visiting the docs, and therefore they're in trouble. So that's why it's kind of funny that Tailwind is part of that default stack. And I'm calling it the default stack because AI loves that stack. AI loves generating code with these technologies. So that is probably a good choice for this year to better understand the code AI generates. Besides that, though, I got a couple of technologies I'm excited about this year. For one, that is more vanilla CSS and browser APIs, because I think a lot of people missed how good the browser became over the last years, essentially. But in the last couple of months, there was so much stuff added or became stable. Browser APIs like the popover API, vanilla CSS features. So that's something I'm excited about. I'm excited about BetterAuth for authentication, for rolling your own authentication. So that is definitely a library I would recommend looking into. And of course, I have like the TypeScript, JavaScript lens. There's a lot of amazing stuff going on in PHP land, but yeah, that is really just that. And then there's so much other stuff like, I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but getting into cloud, into databases like Postgres or SQLite, because we're in this strange world or in this strange place right now where you can build a lot of stuff with AI. It can be an accelerator. It can also be a problem, but it is a problem for many. ask Tailwind, but it can also be a problem for you if you rely on it too much, but it can be a huge productivity boost. I'm convinced about that. And you can build a lot of stuff, but if you want to build a lot of stuff, you need to know, you should develop deep knowledge of the technologies or some of the technologies you're working with. And if you learn something like cloud, working with AWS or working with database and so on, you can really build amazing applications which are more than just code. There you also need to effectively use databases and stuff. So that would be some technologies, and I could make the list longer and longer, but whilst I'm talking, more and more questions are coming in. So yeah, I'll stop here. But these are some of the things I'm excited about, and there would be more I could add. So do I think we should use Tailwind CSS now? Chances are high that we already do, but if you like it, of course, you could consider buying Plus, or there is a book, Refactoring UI, by one of the Tailwind developers, which will probably also be a good way of supporting them. So yeah, hello to everybody who just joined. We're many people today. That's pretty amazing, and Happy New Year to everybody, of course. And am I a cat person or a dog person? More of a dog person, I think. Thanks for all the nice words, by the way. So many very nice messages here. Means a lot to me. Truly means a lot to me. Thank you all so much. And yeah, what are my thoughts on learning React Next.js? Is it good for getting a job? As mentioned, it's the default stack, and therefore, of course, a lot of companies are using it. I mean, a lot of companies used it before AI became that big thing. So yeah, learning it is definitely a good strategy, I would say, but you want to make sure that you go beyond the pure fundamentals, because you want to get better than AI. You want to be able to steer AI, because employers will also expect you to use AI, and in order to efficiently use it and bring a real benefit to the table, you should be confident using AI, and you should know what you're using it for, I would say. What's the best way to use animations in Next? So I'm not sure what the best way is. What I like a lot is the motion library, which you can also use with Vue.js. That's formerly Framer Motion. I really like that a lot. And of course, you can also use native animations. I mean, CSS animations, CSS transitions, the Web Animations API, which is a browser API. And that's kind of what I meant. There's so much amazing stuff available in the browser already. That is something I will explore more and more this year, and I want to use more and more this year, and I can only recommend doing so. Please talk about these features: dialog, popover, anchor positions, view transitions. So I will talk more about them, but not so much today in this stream, but on my Academine channel, where more content will come, there are already some videos about the popover API, container queries, and I will release more videos there soon about the view transition API, for example, about colors, and not just CSS stuff, but that will also be something I have planned there. Your courses are amazing. Thank you so much. Which city do you live in? I live in Munich. I bought your Django and React courses. Do you still think it's relevant? So it's all still relevant. I mean, sometimes in our bubble, you can get that feeling like everything changed within a day, and that's it. And the reality, of course, is that most people, most developers out there probably don't live in that hype bubble that you can sometimes end up in if you're a lot of X and so on. And of course, a lot of companies have applications that use Python, Java, PHP, whatever, and they're not shutting it down or let AI take over and only use AI. So of course, all the technologies that were popular yesterday will still be relevant this year. And then again, as I said, for example, TypeScript and so on, React, that will be more and more relevant, I would say. But of course, as I also said already, you will need to kind of combine that with some AI skills. As a front-end dev, how we start AI learning? What I would do is really start using a tool like Cursor, GitHub Copilot, Claude Code. You can experiment with them. You will need a paid subscription, to be honest. It's not really available for free, or you have very strict limits if it's for free. But then just experiment with it and hand off more and more work to the AI, but be specific. Don't ask it to build like a to-do app. I mean, it could probably do that, but don't ask it to build an online shop app, but instead ask for individual features and learn to steer it. Review the code. Don't just blindly trust it. Don't accept it just because it works. And that is how you can then approach that and get better at using AI, so to say. That is what I would recommend. I would also recommend that if you're learning something, no matter what it is, definitely use AI as an assistant, as a helper. Let it generate examples or use ChatGPT to ask follow-up questions, but don't let AI just give you the solutions, because that's not really how you learn anything. And that just makes you feel like you learn something, but you won't really. So that is, how I would use AI as a web developer. I just finished your React course. What do you think about jobs for Next.js? Also planning on update Next.js course and the React course, because Next.js have lots of changes. So I already answered the jobs part, I think. And regarding Next.js, Next.js doesn't really have any groundbreaking changes. Next.js 16 still works like Next.js 15 did in the end, and like 14, so that should all be fine. Yeah, I did notice Tailwind layoff. So the question is, did you notice Tailwind CSS layoff 75% of their employees? I did notice that. I even created a video on my YouTube channel, which came out today, where I talk about this. It's really horrible to see a library that is super popular. AI writes a lot of Tailwind code, and at the same time, that very thing, AI, that depends on Tailwind, seems to put it in a bad position. And I really hope Tailwind will figure out a way of making money, be that through sponsorships or whatever, so that they can live off that amazing work they're doing. What do you think of React and TanStack? I love TanStack. TanStack, all the TanStack libraries, I haven't used them all, but Query, TanStack Router, TanStack Start, really, they're amazing, and I'll share more content on them because I'm using them a lot on a lot of projects. For example, here Build My Graphic is built with TanStack Start, and yeah, I really love TanStack. Which language most used for communication with others? I'm not sure what you mean with that. Are we coming full circle? Is Tailwind just a canary in the coal mine for what's about to happen to many businesses? Yeah, I mean, AI is like a huge challenge for so many businesses. My business included, of course, like online courses. That is obviously also under a lot of pressure by AI. And I also have some ideas on how to stay relevant and hopefully be more relevant. But it's definitely challenging for so many businesses and for so many reasons. I mean, one reason why AI is so challenging is, of course, that it can do the work. Like for Tailwind, you don't need to go to the docs because AI can write Tailwind code. But the other reason is that if you want to learn something, if you want to look something up, you can ask for in Tailwind, how do I use Flexbox? And chances are high, of course now not, but chances are high that you get an AI summary. Of course, now I didn't get it and I don't get it again, but you get my point. Often enough, you get these AI summaries. So there are chances people don't even go to the documentation, even if they want to look something up, because they might just get an AI summary, or they might ask in ChatGPT or somewhere else. And that, of course, these are the two forces that put a lot of pressure on a lot of businesses. What do you think about the recent React 19 security vulnerability? Did it cause raising a concern against using React? So I also created a video on that very same YouTube channel. And I mean, there was a lot of noise around those security vulnerabilities. Obviously, it's bad what happened there. And obviously, part of the reason that it happened is that React had to invent its own protocol, essentially. Its own way of communicating between client and server. Now, a lot of the noise made it seem like the problem is that connection between client and server-side code, and that's not really it. And there is also less connection than some people might think. But of course, React definitely got very complex, and they had to invent their own protocol due to that complexity. their own way of exchanging data, so to say, and that introduced the vulnerability. Now, I don't think that makes it. I don't think that means you shouldn't use React. You would probably find vulnerabilities in anything that got as big as React. I mean, there's a lot of spotlight on React and so on. But yeah, definitely concerning, especially if you consider how much code is generated by AI. And I mean, if you don't apply these patches, there definitely are still React applications out there that are still vulnerable. And there, I guess, are some applications out there built by people that have no idea of what a vulnerability even is. And if not now, then in a year or so. So that is the bigger concern I have there. I'm overwhelmed by the large number of backend programming languages. I want to start my coding journey with either Node.js or Go. Which one would you recommend and how should I proceed? I would recommend Node.js for the very simple reason that Node.js uses JavaScript, which is the language you'll need anyways for front-end web development. No matter which framework you use, or if you use vanilla JavaScript, you'll need JavaScript. So that's why I would use Node.js, because then it's the same language on the front end and back end, which makes it a bit simpler. Go can be the better language because it gives you better performance than Node.js, but for many applications, that will simply not matter. And you can always switch, but for starting, I would use Node.js. And regarding proceeding, I would start with Node.js. I would pick up some Node.js frameworks. Maybe you take a look at Bun. I mean, Bun is an alternative to Node.js. It also uses JavaScript, and it has some nice features built in. It has better performance in many areas. So that might be another nice thing. But I would learn Node.js first, because making the switch is super simple then in the end. Do you think ShadCN will replace Tailwind CSS? No, because it's not an alternative. ShadCN uses Tailwind CSS for styling, but it's not an alternative. Maybe Tailwind is no longer needed in first place since AI can build on the fly all the cool framework features just by using vanilla CSS and JavaScript. Well, it's definitely an option that in the future, in the near future, I don't know, we'll see more vanilla solutions because, as you wrote, AI can generate that vanilla code. I mean, I have projects where I use vanilla CSS for that very reason, because writing that CSS code is pretty easy with help of AI, and I can clearly guide AI. I can tell it which CSS features I want it to use, because I don't want AI to generate CSS code as if it would still be 2019. Which it probably would do by default, but I can explicitly tell it that I want to use nested selectors, that I want to use the has selector, that I want to use properties and relative colors and all that amazing stuff that exists in CSS now. So yeah, maybe we go back to more vanilla solutions, but I don't see Tailwind or anything like that disappearing entirely. It's way too important. Tailwind should have free CDN, but some features should be paid, like Void Zero. Yeah, we'll see which solution they will figure out. I mean, the problem with making something paid is it might just not get used at all then, because their big problem is that so much code is just AI generated, and the people that have AI generated code often don't care about which code it generates, and they might not care if they're missing out on some paid Tailwind features, but we'll see. Is PHP Laravel still good to learn? Definitely. What is relevant for learning to an experienced developer with 10 plus years of experience? Depends, of course, very much in which area you are, especially now with AI. Well, obviously, working with AI, super important for every developer, in my opinion. Using it efficiently, not following it blindly, not falling into the vibe coding trap. So that's one thing. And going deep. No matter how much experience you have, you can always probably go deeper. You can learn more fundamentals. As I mentioned before, you can learn about CI/CD, cloud, more about working efficiently with Postgres or other databases. So that is what I do. I mean, depending on when you start counting, I started programming as a hobby at the age of 13, so that's over 20 years ago. But I started working really professionally, I would say like 11 or 12 years ago or something like this. I would say I'm very experienced in web development, and there's a bunch of stuff where I want to dive deeper. Essentially what I listed here, new libraries, and then using AI efficiently and so on. Is Tailwind CSS dead? I hope not. You helped our careers. The least we can say is thank you. So thank you so much, really, and thank you all. There are so many amazing messages in the chat. I read them all. It means a lot to me. So thank you all very, very much for that. Greetings from Salzburg. Yeah, greetings back to Österreich. Do you plan on sharing the code used in your videos about popover API? I can do that. Yeah, I should probably do that. Good point. Do you stream often? I do plan to stream every Thursday, but I don't. It doesn't always work out. But the plan generally is to stream every Thursday at the same time I stream now. I'm just starting using TypeScript when working with MERN-Stack, but very uncomfortable. TypeScript can be tricky to get started with, especially with AI. It might be a bit simpler to generate those very complex type definitions. But yeah, TypeScript has a steep learning curve, or can have, but I think you don't need all these super advanced TypeScript features very often. You need them more often if you're building a library or something like this. But if you're building an application, very often you just need the basic type definitions. And yeah, definitely use AI to help you with that. Is it too late to learn programming mid-30? Definitely not. But now, of course, is a very dynamic time with AI. It can feel very overwhelming. It doesn't need to be, because in the end, our field has always changed, but that change has definitely accelerated. So learning it now is absolutely possible at any age, I would say, but you will need to be willing to also learn how to leverage AI as a developer, and at the same time learn some fundamentals, because if you only use AI, you're effectively vibe coding. You wouldn't understand the code you write, and that would put you in a spot where you're not better than AI, and that then does not really make you employable. You should do some project review streams in the future. That is a very good idea. I will note that. That is a very good idea. I should definitely do that. I just finished your React course. Will update for Next.js part. No update planned, because to be very honest, Next.js, yeah, there is a new version out, but the biggest change was with the release of the app router. And I updated that part of the course, I think, for Next.js 15. So yeah, it covers all the fundamentals you need there. Speaking of Tailwind, as I mentioned in one of your previous streams, I was about to do a front-end exam for which I used Tailwind and it passed. So I want to thank you for the good luck wishes back then. Yeah, awesome. Good to hear you passed, and I'm happy that my good luck wishes helped a bit with that. That's amazing. So, how about using Node.js Express or Nest.js instead of Spring Boot? All perfectly valid options. There are companies out there using all these technologies. Nest.js, I don't know, because I have pretty much no experience with it. I used it back in 2018 or 19 and haven't touched it since. Not because it's bad. I just also have limited time and I don't need it. So I can't judge how much usage it sees. Node, Express, and Spring Boot are definitely all used a lot. How do you break down tough, big, complex problems? With experience, I would say, and then really by looking at them step by step. But it is something that does come with experience. And I know this is totally a not satisfying answer, but it is the truth. With less experience, you simply get that experience by breaking it down wrongly, by trying to tackle two big blocks or chunks at the same time. But in the end, if you face a problem, if you're building a complex application or implementing a complex feature, with experience, you can automatically break it up into the smaller building blocks, and you already know, okay, that will be challenging, and of course you will still run into problems. Let me be very honest here. You constantly learn and keep on learning, no matter how much experience you have. But it does help, of course, to have seen a lot of situations and to have a good feeling and intuition for what will be challenging and what you should tackle in which way. Do you expect to get the AI bubble burst in the next few years and increasing prices for agent tokens? I do think There is a bubble, and I think it will burst, but of course, that does not mean that AI goes away. And I know you didn't write that, so I just want to be clear. But yeah, there's a lot of spending on AI, and I'm not sure if the return on those investments will come as quickly as some companies and investors will need to get those returns. That's a complex way of saying it. But yeah, I think there will be companies that get into trouble. By the way, OpenAI could be one of them, as ironic and weird as that might sound. But in the end, Google has the data, has the reach, has good models. Sure, OpenAI has Microsoft, but Microsoft is not exclusively all in on OpenAI. And OpenAI they have the ChatGPT advantage, but they could really struggle to hold up to Google or catch up to Google. We'll see, of course. But yeah, I definitely feel there is a bubble. Will that make tokens more expensive? Not sure about that, because there still is a lot of competition between those major AI companies. And we also have like all these Chinese models aggressively entering the market, so I don't really see token prices going up in the near future. If AI is trained on existing technologies, won't that make it increasingly difficult for new frameworks to prosper since AI is not trained on it? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a huge problem. I also talked about it before, I think. A big problem is that we're now in this world where AI was trained on everything that happened before 2021-ish. And it locked in that knowledge. Of course, new models have all the content and all the knowledge that was published since then. But there is, of course, way more knowledge from that older period. And a lot of the content, a lot of the code that's being generated now is based on that old knowledge. So it's picking up that knowledge. It's kind of reinforcing it. And I see it very hard for AI to be innovative and for frameworks to come up or to prosper, for new frameworks, I should say, when there is this default stack here. And when there is basically, yeah, that winning stack, and when a lot of that code is based on that old knowledge. So I see some huge problems here. Not sure if it'll really be problems, but I mean, building a new framework, not that we need a new framework every day, let's be honest, that also was stressful for many people back in 2019 when we had the framework wars. But building a new framework now is maybe not that attractive, because chances of people using it are probably pretty slim, because a lot of people, I mean, companies have their established tech stacks anyway, and they won't use a new framework just because it's there. And all the indie hackers, all these small developers, but also content creators, they will probably focus on this stack or on some mainstream technologies. So yeah, I see some problems there. Would you want to create maybe a separate course about how to use AI? Yeah, I definitely want to create more content on that, because I get the question a lot. I just want to get it right and not build some AI slop course, and I don't want to build a vibe coding course. You know me. I want to build a very good course or good courses, but that is definitely something I want to cover, and I want to do it well. What about connecting AI agents to my application? AI agents are a super hot topic now, and I think that is a feature. Web applications and AI agents. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, incorporating AI in general is something. You can build a lot of amazing applications by adding AI to them. On the other hand, an application does not automatically get good just because it has AI. And there are a lot of AI wrapper applications out there already, of course, but with new model releases, new use cases get unlocked all the time. I mean, take Build My Graphic. It's just a side project, but I use it internally to build infographic for educational materials and so on. This uses Nano Banana Pro under the hood, and a lot of prompt engineering and a lot of different models being connected. This is something that I couldn't have built 6 months ago because the image models weren't good enough. So yeah, I see a lot of good opportunities there with AI agents or AI generally implemented into applications. And what do you think about Laravel? Laravel is amazing. I used Laravel a lot 10 years ago. God, I'm getting old. 10 years ago. And then I just moved to JavaScript, but it was absolutely amazing, and I'm certain it still is. It's an amazing framework. And working with it really is a lot of fun, and you can be super productive with it. Will I make a course on TanStack? Yeah, I'd like to. Definitely on the short list. My company is standardized on Angular. What do you think of Angular? I like Angular a lot. It will always have a special place in my heart because it's the framework on which I created my first big course. But yeah, it truly is amazing, and it had some rough years, but like 3 years ago, they really started to move into a way better direction, I would say. And now with Signals and Zoneless, Angular is in such a better spot than it ever was before. I would say it's a really an amazing framework. It's too bad that they kind of stumbled and let React win from, I would say, 2016 to 2020, because for that reason, React is in that default stack here, and AI is favorite and not Angular. I mean, if Angular would have done this transition from Angular 1 to Angular 2 well, they could dominate the JavaScript world now. But yeah, they don't. But still, it's an amazing framework. Considering most boilerplate coding jobs are being taken over by AI, it feels like bespoke designed animated visuals are still one of the last remaining valuable skills. I think going deep in general and being a subject matter expert, being an expert on any technology, of course, more technologies than I listed here. You get my point. But being an expert and combining that with a strong knowledge of how to efficiently use AI will be a good strategy this year, next year. What's changing, of course, is if you just know some basics and you can throw together some code and you don't really understand it and now you use AI, that will not suffice, because why would I need you if all you can do is prompt AI and then be stuck if something goes wrong, or give me some code that has bugs and problems? I can do that myself, and I can do it better. So yeah, you wanna really have strong foundations and deep knowledge combined with AI knowledge. As I said before, I'm repeating myself, I know, and I think that will still put you ahead. What do I say comparing Angular to React? I like both. As I said, Angular will always have that special place in my heart. For the last years, I'm using way more React, to be very honest. There is no better framework here. React has the better ecosystem. React is AI's favorite. There are more React resources out there, so AI will know more about it. Angular, on the other hand, is backed by Google, and they're using it in some of their biggest applications, so it also definitely won't go away, or almost definitely. I mean, it's Google, but it's very stable and well maintained. So yeah, there is no winner there, but obviously, I mean, there is a clear winner regarding downloads, and that is React, but they're both great frameworks. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for the amazing support, for the donation, Masirov. Thank you so much. Besides teaching and helping others, what are you passionate about? I like reading. I like playing video games. I like that a lot. I have a pilot's license for small planes. That's a hobby I picked up, which I really love. And yeah, just spending time with friends. Nothing exceptional besides the plane thing, maybe, which sounds more elite than it is, to be very honest. But yeah, and I really love coding and all things related to it. So yeah, it is my work, but I'm truly passionate about that. First, answer for yourself this rhetorical question: what type of coding work do you enjoy most? Start here. Because you enjoy it most, you will be motivated. Oh, that's not a question for me. Yeah, got it. What do you think is the best front-end tech stack for animations and so on? Besides vanilla CSS and the web animations API and so on, I would use the Motion library. AWS versus Azure versus Google Cloud, which one? The boring answer is all are fine. I personally am an expert, I guess you could say, on AWS. I have all the certifications, including the most difficult one, what is the solution architect, Yeah, the highest one. I forgot the name. So that's the only cloud provider I have a deep understanding of. But ultimately, you can go with whatever you want, or I think cost-wise, they're all pretty much equal, I guess. And they're all innovating rapidly and releasing new services all the time. I guess they're also all equally complex, I'm afraid. So yeah, um, probably AWS and Azure, since they have way larger market share, you will have a richer ecosystem. You will find more resources. But then again, with AI, that might not matter too much because there definitely is a lot of documentation and resources for Google Cloud as well. Um, I'm looking for a report designer for my React SaaS project. Options like DevExpress, Fast Report cost tens of thousands of dollars annually, which is beyond my budget. Um, to be honest, I have no opinion on that, and I haven't used any tool like that. So sorry, can't really share anything about that. Vue plus Laravel for freelancing. Definitely a stack where you can be super productive with, I would say, because Laravel has a lot of batteries included. So not a bad choice. And most clients probably will not care too much about it. Or I'm not sure if it's most clients. I mean, if clients care, again, we're back here at the default stack. But yeah, I think it's not a bad combination. Absolutely not. Is switching from software engineer to cloud solutions architect a good and long-term efficient migration? It's always hard to answer the long-term part. It does seem like a career which is safer from AI, but as I mentioned before, I don't think software engineers are as threatened as it can feel if you adapt correctly. And you could also make the argument that all the cloud stuff can be done by AI really well in a year or so. Because, I mean, there is this whole infrastructure as code thing where you can lay out an AWS infrastructure in code with the CDK or CloudFormation. So, designing cloud architectures is, in theory, something AI could also do pretty well, I guess. So, it might feel safer, and I think it's a good path. But maybe not for the reasons you could think it is. I just think there is a huge demand for that because I think with all the AI acceleration, there will be more demand for code, for software applications that must be deployed, for services running in the cloud. So it will be a good career, but not necessarily because it's so much safer from AI. I just made a career transition from arts to web dev. Do you think getting a junior position will get more and more challenging because of AI? I mean, yeah, for juniors, it's a really tough situation because I shared that before, but there is this really horrible chart here. These are the open job postings, software development job postings in the US. And whoops, let me zoom out a bit so that we can see that. And well, that was the pandemic. Then it went down. Now it's even, and maybe now it's slightly moving up, but there have been better days. And of course, with AI, the question is, how will this look like in the future? The truth is, nobody knows, but I do think that with that AI acceleration, companies will want more developers again, because there must be someone that tells the AI what to do, and that can't be the product manager, because you want to be able to steer the AI regarding technological choices it makes, regarding patterns it uses. You want to have people that can review the code. I don't know if that's true in 10 years, but it's definitely true now. And ideally, companies might want senior developers for that, but there simply won't be enough of those. So I think it will get better for junior developers, but it will definitely stay a very challenging market, unfortunately. I'm a senior software engineer with 10 years of experience, and to be honest, I'm still terrified that there just won't be enough work for us to do in the future. It's like waiting for when time will come, when we'll need to figure out something else to do in life, but I guess it'll be 50 years old. The only option would be work in a market, assuming that robots won't get that work as well. I totally get that it's a super terrifying time. And I'll be very honest. I mean, I find it very challenging for me too, because my business model also needs to change entirely. And I wouldn't have thought that 4 years ago, not even 3 years ago, to be honest. At the same time, I mean it when I say AI can unlock opportunities also on the job market. It can lead maybe to more software being generated. It is a tool, but it is a powerful tool. And the good old software development job where you write code, that will not go away entirely, but there will be less demand for that. There will be more demand for people that can design systems, that can control AI, as I said, ask for specific patterns, best practices, whatever, review the code. So that will change. And then again, you need that expert knowledge still to combine that with AI. And I've said it before, but I totally get it. It's super terrifying. And yeah, uh, if I could get rid of AI, and I guess it's the same for many people, we probably would. But it's there and it's going to stay, and we have to adapt. But I think there are opportunities ahead. But yeah, definitely not the most relaxing environment. Greetings from Poland. Greetings back to Poland. And again, I read all the nice messages. I don't read them out aloud, but I read them all. I see them all. It means a lot to me. So thank you all so much who are writing those nice messages. It means a lot to me. Should I learn React and Next.js? What do you think should be the next step? Should I learn Postgres or just learn a lot of React and Next.js? So picking up some skills of working with the database, optimizing database queries, learning with some advanced stuff related to databases and also database deployments, and that definitely is a very valuable skill, I'd say. But at the same time, I would, and you can combine it, I guess, I would start building more and more projects with AI, with React, with Next.js, and really go deeper there and stumble into some problems which you will face for sure when you build more advanced projects, because that is how you learn the most, and that will be very valuable. Do you think Vercel will acquire Tanstack Start because it's just too good and I'm absolutely comfortable with React server components, but I personally think it's just over engineering most of the time? I thought that I read a post by Tanner, the Tanstack Start guy, so to say, that he wouldn't sell, but I'm not sure. I might be wrong here. Anyways, I'm not sure if Vercel will buy it. Don't see that happening because I'm not sure if they really need like two frameworks that they own. Sponsoring stuff like that, if they're not already doing it, is definitely something I see as a valid option. Funny question to throw you back to some of your old tutorials. How did you figure out the old state, new state thingy in forums? You are pretty much the only one who did it way back then. I'm not sure what you mean, to be honest. Sorry. I'm not sure what you mean. But chances are high that if I'm the only one, that it either was at a time where there weren't a lot of resources on that, or I consumed some resources, some conference talk, because I do watch a lot of conferences, for example, to stay up to date with what's happening. And I maybe saw someone from the official team use something like this, and that's why I thought, oh, okay, this seems to be the official approach. Maybe something like this. Do I think payload CMS is the next big thing? I will be honest, I don't even know payload CMS. So I don't think it's the next big thing because, I don't know it. Maybe it is, but then I missed it. Thank you for your career lessons. They helped me start a career. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all so much. Do you have any plans to create a Node.js course? I have a Node.js course, but I do have plans to create more content on modern Node.js features, also free content on my Academind channel. So yeah, there are plans for that. And I have a video there about some amazing modern Node.js videos you might be missing. It's already live on my Academind YouTube channel. How it works behind the scenes, build my graphics websites, which you build. It's a Tanstack Start application, uses Nano Banana Pro and a lot of other AI models to wire together different steps. A lot of prompt engineering, obviously. And it's not a super complex tech stack. It's just wiring together a lot of different things in ways that are maybe, well, I guess they're trivial once you know it or once you do it that way. There are a lot of things to think about, but the core tech stack is really just tan stack start. I think there will still be. That's not a question. What do you think is the best freelancer platform? It's been some time. In my days, it was Upwork. I guess it's still good, probably. Not sure. That's what I used, and that's where I hired in the past. But I'm not sure if it's the best platform, if it gives you the best customers, best fee structure. I don't know that, unfortunately. Will I reveal what's my next project? Not yet. Well, there is some project. Now, I don't know what I'll release next technically, but I'm building my own presentation drawing app, which I use. So I build a lot of stuff which I use, and if I find it good enough, I polish it up and release it. So that's something I will probably release next. My alternative to Excalitraw, I guess. In my previous job, no. Do you think that if existing technologies will require AI to pay for usage of them, will it slow down AI and make it more positive for development? I don't think. If you have paid technologies, AI will just not know about them and not use them. But since people are already using AI and that will not stop, those paid technologies probably just won't see a lot of usage. So that will not slow down AI, it will probably slow down adoption of these technologies, which might not be in the interest of the people behind them. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope there is a way for people to earn money off frameworks or technologies of any kind they build. I'm just not sure if that will be the case. Maybe for some more advanced technologies that are not easily replicatable and are still very useful. But a lot of technologies like Tailwind, of course, are not hard to replicate, which does not mean that it's easy to build, but it's, yeah, I mean, there are alternatives already, like, what's it called? Uno, CSS, and so on. So, yeah, not sure about that. When will I start with animations? I can't promise it yet, but there will be content hopefully soon, maybe next week already on Academine on the channel. But I can't promise it. What do you think of Flutter? Flutter's future? Very good future. Flutter supported by Google, used by Google, which is even more important, I guess. And a really good framework or technology for building cross-platform applications. Now, React Native is a great alternative, and thanks to this default stack and the big knowledge and experience, in quotes, of AI with React Native might be better for some projects, especially since you can share code between web and mobile if that matters for you. But that does not necessarily matter for all projects, and Flutter is a really amazing technology. I always liked working with Flutter, and Flutter has the additional advantage that it, for example, makes it pretty simple, relatively simple to build desktop applications, which does not matter for everybody, but matters for some. And it's not that easy to do that with React Native. Getting better, though, but not that easy. And with Flutter, it's like a built-in feature, and that's really great. What AI models do I use for coding? I use Opus 4.5 right now. It's really good, follows instructions really well. I use GPT 5.2 often for exploring the code base or doing it like code reviews or stuff like that. And then occasionally, I guess, Gemini 3 Pro still for the same tasks as GPT. But Opus is definitely the main model I use these days. I'm just starting out with your React course. Do you have any tips for making rapid progress? Definitely go through the essentials sections in there. You can ramp up the speed a bit, but go through the sections. And I know it's tempting to just click through it and say, I understood it, I understood that. Really practice with React, and do it with no AI or only very little AI, so that you really got these React fundamentals down. And then you can progress a bit faster through other sections, maybe sections that don't interest you as much. You can also skip, you can go back to them later. It's an on-demand course. But these the foundation should be there, I would say. So I would not rush through that, and then thereafter just dive into the sections that are most interesting to you, and maybe also after the essentials start building some stuff and come back to the sections that are most interesting to you when you're facing a certain problem, for example. That would be one way of doing it. I built an internal tool backed by a proprietary framework that automates coding and testing with very little to human intervention. Where do I stand? Is that an achievement? That is definitely an achievement. Yeah, 100%, I would say. Thank you so much for the support, Flat Furky. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. How would you suggest to use vibe coding in order to learn the code? I think using vibe coding to learn to code is kind of the opposite. It's kind of hard to do, but I think I get what you mean. I think you can use vibe coding, or whatever you want to call it, to have AI generate some project for you, or you have an idea for a project, shouldn't be too complex, and you let AI generate the code. And then you can dive into the code and ask AI to explain it, for example, step by step. And then maybe also look up some documentation in addition, just so that you see what the official explanation is or the official takes are. Because maybe AI generated some outdated code, or maybe sometimes code that might not be optimal, that might violate some patterns or best practices. But I think then you can use vibe coding to have AI generate projects and examples for you. You can use AI to judge your own solutions. Maybe if you build an application on your own, you can ask AI for judgment. So I think that are ways of integrating AI into the learning process. Pilot's license? Yeah, I have a pilot license for small planes. So I'm not flying Airbus. What else as a job if no YouTube courses teaching? I will try everything to make it work, to keep on teaching, creating content on YouTube, one way or the other. I don't know if it will probably not look like 2 years ago, but yeah, I'll try my best to find something that will work for other people, that is helpful to other people. And if it's helpful to other people, it will also be helpful to me. Hopefully that's the plan. And I do enjoy all the YouTube stuff right now very much. And yeah, I'll do more. Do I read the Twitch chat? I do. I'm just going through the chat step by step, and there are lots of messages from YouTube, so it takes a while for me to get to all the messages. I'm very sorry. Anything you want to say about Flutter Future? Already did. What about Supabase? Why not Supabase instead of the other ones like BetterOff? So for one, Supabase is not just an alternative to BetterOff. BetterOff is about authentication. Supabase is about way more. And I don't know. I would imagine BetterOff offers more auth-related features, but I don't know, because I'll be very honest, I haven't used a lot of Supabase. Simply because I never needed to, wanted to. I never was on the Supabase hype train, so I don't have a lot to share about that. I'm sure it's great. I just have not really used it. Do you have a view on the European job market? Any countries that are in better state compared to the rest, in particular for juniors? The European job market, that's hard. The German job market is definitely not that great, but definitely also not that disrupted by AI yet, I would say. And again, it can seem more extreme in the bubble we sometimes are than it is out there right now. But of course, AI will have an impact there too. I can't judge the overall European job market, unfortunately. Because I don't have a lot of insights into those other countries, sorry. I feel there's so much to learn nowadays as a beginner, and the tech industry job is getting more and more daunting. That is going to get worse. What to do? I think I kind of already answered that. I totally get that it's totally daunting. Yeah, I answered it before, and there are so many questions. Don't want to like bore everyone by repeating what I said, but in the end, going deep, learning how to efficiently use AI, um, and that will enable a new ways for you to provide benefits to employers and make and keep you employable. But yeah, I've said it before. Does it still matter to solve lead code problems in the age of AI? It might still matter because there definitely still are companies that want you to solve lead code problems during the interview process, and then you must be able to do it on your own or use some cheat tool, but chances are you get caught and might not be ideal. And if it's like a personal interview, that's not an option anyways. So yeah, you might still need it for that. I always found it stupid, to be very honest. I'm a strong believer in having a good foundation, knowing fundamentals, and having a general idea of what algorithms and data structures are and about some of the more important ones is definitely important. But being able to like instantly solve all of them, um, I'm not a big fan of that. If I look for people, if I look for developers, I'm more interested in seeing them tackle actual problems, and it's totally fine if they Google for that, if they use AI for that. I just want to see them use it efficiently. I want to see them solve those problems. I want to see that they understand what the problems are, and I don't care too much if they can do a bubble sort, if they can write an algorithm for that. Will I be teaching Kotlin? No, because I have no experience with that. What do you think of mobile dev, Flutter, and Kotlin? Flutter, I like a lot. Kotlin, as I just said, no experience, so not a lot to share about that. How do you see front-end developer future? I share a lot about that already. Isn't Next.js a React framework? It is. Maybe I can become a language teacher, Spanish or Portuguese. I don't speak those languages, so German is the only I can offer, unfortunately. For a beginner in web animations, what, if anything, is the first thing you will teach to get started, or will you share with us? I will. So, just to set expectations, I'm not releasing a big web animations course next week or anytime soon. I will create individual videos on a lot of topics, including some on animations, on my Academine channel. But there's not like this huge roadmap I have planned. Sorry. So that are a lot of repeated questions, which makes sense because I'm a bit slow and there are so many questions, which is amazing. Is Tanstack worth learning, or is it just a new hype? There definitely is some hype in the very small tech Twitter bubble. I would agree with that, but I will say Tanstack is amazing. I actually started using it before it got hyped up on X and YouTube. And I like it a lot. I like Tanstack Start a lot, and I think it does certain things in an easier way than Next.js, maybe. So, yeah, I like it quite a bit. What are my... No, sorry, here's a question. Why total questions about AI? Is there any big negative news about AI in place of developers? Well, the Tailwind news, which I already talked about. What are my thoughts about Hono.js? For the people that maybe don't know, Hono.js is a framework for, I guess, for JavaScript runtimes in general. I use it a lot with Bun, and I thought it was originally for Bun. But no, you can use it with Dino, Bun, and also Node.js and on Cloudflare Workers and so on. And I'm using Hono quite a bit for various side projects mostly. When I want to build like a standalone REST API because it's fast, it uses Bun, which is fast, or you can use it with Bun, which is fast. It has a nice syntax, and yeah, I like Hono a lot. So, strong recommendation. Hono is my new Express.js, I would say. I had thought to double down on learning Kotlin because of Google developing an operating system to combine Android and Chrome OS. I think it will be very popular. What's your opinion? I think Kotlin is very popular. I don't want to share too much on it because I haven't used it. I don't have a lot of insights in the job market or anything like that because I never investigated this. But everything I heard about Kotlin was pretty good, also regarding its usage and so on. So I think it's a good choice. How can I enhance logical and data structures and algorithm skills? I mean, doing the good old lead code examples is definitely still valuable, I guess. If you specifically want to enhance those skills, AI can absolutely also help you with that. Just don't let it generate the solutions only. Let it also explain. I think that combination is good for these specific skills. What agentic framework will gain the most traction in 2026? LangGraph, Mistra, Pydantic AI, maybe something else. LangChain and LangGraph are definitely the biggest ones, I guess, and here to stay and will continue to gain traction. Pydantic AI too. On the JavaScript side, I think the AI SDK by Vercel is a very strong one. We'll see how well TanStack AI does. There is, as we just discussed, some hype around TanStack, and maybe that helps their AI package too. We'll see, but it's a really small one, just to put it into perspective. But yeah, I guess LangChain, LangGraph will be the most important one probably in 2026, I'd guess. Do I think AI will impact Angular developers as well? I think it has an impact on all developers because all developers will need to adjust and adapt, I guess. Do you even remember Angular on which you raced on? Is it still worth to learn in depth? So I remember everything about Angular. I remember the old Angular, the early Angular 2 days. I like the modern Angular with signals much more, to be honest. And yeah, it's definitely still worth learning it in depth. It's the second most popular front-end framework, I guess. It's getting used by companies. It's getting used a lot by Google. It's worth learning, yeah. Ever thought of making a guide on how to better understand how docs are made for popular things? No, because it sounds pretty niche, but yeah, might be something. But I would have to look it up. I'm sure because they all look the same. There is some standard library or tool they're using, but I would have to dive into that. But no, I haven't thought about that yet because it's a very specific target audience, I guess. So answered that. React Dev here. I'm considering your course on Udemy about React Native to broaden my knowledge. Is it something you would recommend? Yeah, I think getting into React Native as a React developer is a good idea simply because it enables you to build mobile applications, which is useful and fun and gives you more tools in your tool belt. So I think most React developers should at least pick up some basics about React Native, simply also so that you see that it's really easy to translate your React skills to React Native and start building mobile apps. I get it. A guide on how to understand the docs, how to efficiently learn with docs. I think in general, a video about how to learn in the age of AI with docs, with AI, might be interesting. Yeah, I'll try to do something on that. How hard do we have to elbow each other to keep a job now? Yeah, it's definitely rougher and tougher. I'm an Angular developer, and every time I want to step in React, I feel that everything is messy. Do you have any suggestions? Probably just get used to it. It's a total different philosophy. There are no classes, and yeah, it's a totally different way of building those components. The core ideas are the same. State, props, it's the same in the end, right? Just has different names. But I get what you mean. I think there just isn't a good answer. When I got into React back in 2016-ish, I absolutely did not like it. I did not like JSX. I even created some video about that back then. And I yeah, I just got used to it. Nowadays, I like it a lot, but yeah, I had to get used to it. What do you think about Elysia and its E2E type safety with any client? I haven't used Elysia.js, only skipped through the docs, so can't really share anything about that. Sorry. What IDE do I use? I use Cursor these days with Cursor AI and also some Claude code because I like to experiment with those different tools. And open code, which is pretty amazing. HTMX or Datastar? Probably HTMX. Why not SvelteKit instead of Next.js? No good reason. I mean, Next.js is simply way more popular. So if you're trying to get a job or anything like that, that's a strong reason for Next.js. But Svelte, Svelte 5, SvelteKit, super amazing and does many things better than Next.js, I guess. So yeah, depends on what your goals are, I guess. Is there any chance for freelancers? Definitely also rougher. I mean, it's the same for freelancers. And if you're trying to get a job, and I think your best chance is probably to deliver some real value that AI slop doesn't provide. And I guess I would imagine that if I were to hire a freelancer on Upwork or other platforms, I would probably find a lot of candidates that just give me some 100% AI generated code that's not really good. So if you can stand out from that crowd by producing results quickly with help of AI, but by providing good quality, that might actually make it easier now than it was a couple of years ago. But of course, the path to standing out and to clients recognizing that you are better can be hard and take time, I guess. Do they have a senior role in McDonald's? I'm sure they have. Do you think it's better not to go into web development now because there's so much competition? And do you think it's better to learn Angular or React? There have been easier times, I've said it before, and there's no way of talking around that. So, yeah, it can feel super challenging. As I also said, I see opportunities also because of AI. But what you have to learn and the amount of effort you have to put into it, also because everything is changing all the time so quickly, that can be really daunting, and it will probably not be for everyone, to be very honest. And I don't mean that in any negative way. And regarding the second part, Angular or React, I answered it before. Both awesome. React is seeing more usage, but both are amazing. And just to be clear, I think being a developer, no matter if it's web development or not, is still a good choice. Not just now, also in a year. But it's definitely way more challenging right now than it was 5 years ago, regarding what you have to learn and how quickly you have to adapt. That might change again, but right now it's really difficult. What's my opinion when someone goes from junior to meteor and from meteor to senior? It's not set in stone. When someone gets seen as a meteor to senior, what's your take? So you mean how to get promoted? That's a bit hard for me to answer, simply because I have my own company. I don't work as a senior or meteor developer anywhere. And all the developers with whom I work, that was mostly on a freelance basis, or is on a freelance basis. So it's hard for me to answer in an honest way, because I don't have those insights into how to best get promoted for this specific jump from junior to senior. I think the path is pretty clear in general. Building up expert knowledge, building up experience is the thing that will get you there almost automatically. But if you want to get seen in a crowd of meteor developers, I don't have any strong honest recommendations there, unfortunately, I'm afraid. The German or Austrian faction is here. Hello, everybody. How to implement calendar components in frontend. There are plenty of libraries for that out there. I mean, I think ShadCN has a calendar, so if you're using that, you can just implement that. So I wouldn't build my own. There are, if you search for React calendar, you will probably find 10 libraries. Just pick one that is maintained, so that has active Git commits on GitHub, and you're good to go, I guess. Do I see course purchases on Udemy decline in the last 2 to 3 years? Yeah, absolutely. Have I ever used Obsidian for note taking? No, I'm using the Apple Notes tool on my system essentially. I'm not one of those people that have a complex note taking or Notion setup or anything like that. I try to keep it simple. So yeah, that's that. Does focusing only on frontend have any issues with AI era? Do I need to be a generalist or a specialist? Okay, as weird as it sounds, I think you need to be both. Now, let me explain. I think focusing on just frontend, might still work. There will be niche roles everywhere, but being more generalist is probably the way to go because AI makes it so much easier to be more generalist. I mean, I could write a program in Elixir, even though I know nothing about it, and then pick up some basics along the way, just because of AI in less time than it would have been before, where I would have to learn it from the ground up. But that, of course, does make me an expert in that. But it's easier to become a generalist, and therefore I think the expectation will be that people should be generalists. But at the same time, you will need your expertise fields, I would say, some areas where you know more. And that can be anywhere. That can be animations, that can be React, that can be databases, that can be cloud stuff, CID, CD stuff. It can also be 2 areas maybe, depending on the time frame. But I think you will need both. Just don't feel the pressure to be an expert in everything. You don't need to be that, and you can't be that. Unless you're some kind of genius, which I'm not. But then, of course, go for it. So we're not writing code nowadays. Mostly prompting. Definitely way more prompting. Yeah, I'm writing way less code than 2 years ago, and I'm doing a lot of prompting. That is changing. Does not mean zero code, and it doesn't mean that you don't need to understand the code. But yeah, I'm writing way less code. Do I have .NET related courses? No. I have some C# .NET experience, but that's some time ago. So no, I got no courses on that. So we got that question. Lots of nice messages. Thank you so much. Whoops. What do you think of WordPress as an alternative to Next.js? I don't think WordPress is an alternative to Next.js. It's an alternative to building websites with code in general, I think. And it's a perfectly fine one. It runs large chunks of the internet and will probably continue to do so. And so yeah, I'm just not into WordPress at all anymore. I used it the last time was 10 years ago or something like this, but definitely a good and much used technology. That's all I can say about it, probably. Fastify versus Express, both fine, but Express is what I have always used, and what many companies are still using, I guess. But yeah, nothing wrong with Fastify. What on Tailwind now? Do I start a project in Material UI? No, I mean, Tailwind is not dead. Let's be clear here. It has huge problems. They had to lay off 75% of their team, which is 3 people, which doesn't sound like much, but it's almost the entire team. They're having huge problems, but it's not dead. And I'm hopeful it won't be dead anytime soon. And it's definitely AI's favorite. Even if it would not be maintained anymore, it would probably continue to be used, to be honest. But we're not at the point where it's dead. But they're facing huge problems, and I hope they can overcome them. How can we differentiate ourselves from others in this area, and what mindset do we need to make a meaningful impact in web or mobile development, particularly in Africa? I don't know about Africa because that's just not a market where I'm active in any way. And I guess I answered the rest, and I know it's super annoying. I repeat myself over and over again, but it is that combination of using AI efficiently, having deep expert knowledge in certain areas, a broad general knowledge, that is the way. Excuse me. That's the way to go, in my opinion. My opinion on Python Fast API, pretty good, I think, but I'm not too much into Python, so not too much I can share about that. Should we follow along 10-hour-long coding tuts now? I think those days are coming to an end. You absolutely can, if that works for you. And I find it kind of sad that long-form content struggles. At the same time, I think a 60-hour course is not the perfect way of teaching something anymore. And to be very honest, most people never finished those courses, I guess. The idea behind such large courses really was to give you like a huge chunk of knowledge, and you could go back to it whenever you needed to learn more from it. But I think that is not the future. I think the future is shorter, more condensed courses. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the future is. You could also say the future is only AI. I think it will always be the combination of human curated, AI assisted, and personalized. But that's something I'm actively trying to figure out. But the long course days are probably over. How would I improve cursor? I mean, there are some annoying bugs, so trying to fix a lot of those bugs is probably the biggest improvement I would want right now. But a lot of the improvements are really behind the scenes, I guess. How well it interacts with the models, how it prompts those models, because there's so much magic going on behind the scenes where prompts are constructed, tool results are evaluated, or model output is evaluated. And that is really like the magic sauce where those tools get a lot more out of these models than you might think, and offer a real benefit. And you just have to keep enhancing it on that front, I guess. For a freelancer starting out, is it better to have 3 to 4 good projects on your profile website, or one excellent, very polished one? Probably more is still better, because if you only have one, a lot of clients, I think, could think that you don't have a lot of experience, because I would imagine a lot of clients don't look too deeply into your code. Depending on your price point, I will say. If you're targeting like a high ticket clientele, the more polished approach might work better. But in general, I think more clients want to see that you worked on different projects of different types, different kinds of projects with different challenges, and then that might therefore be more important. I talked with an interviewer recently. He said that now that AI can handle most of the coding, the role of the dev is to handle software architecture and system design. I'd like to hear your opinion. Yeah, I think, as I said, I think it's changing. And I think system design, deconstructing problems into smaller problems, which you can then feed to AI, understanding AI solutions, I think, yeah, it's definitely changing quite a bit. And I agree with that. What do you think in 2026? Should I change my tech stack from MERN into app dev with React Native? I think there's no simple answer to that. Whatever you enjoy or what you want to do. I would definitely not be stuck on just MERN, because that's probably too narrow. especially since the big MongoDB hype days are over. It's still a great database and not as bad as some people now make it seem, but the hype days are over, so I wouldn't be stuck on MERN specifically. But if the alternative is mobile app dev or web dev, I would go with whatever you prefer and where you want to get a job. There's there's really only one library for animations, GSAP, and it's not even close. Yeah, okay. Maybe. I would argue if you want to add some basic animations or including some more advanced animations to React, Motion is a pretty good alternative, for example. But I will agree, GSAP is definitely the most powerful, flexible animations library out there. I won't argue with that. I understand the role of the dev is now to steer the AI in the right direction. Does that mean that devs have to become some sort of one-man army? Yeah, as I mentioned, you definitely will have to be that generalist specialist, which is not that amazing. Or I don't know if it's not that amazing, but it's definitely different and might not be for everyone. For me personally, it's not that bad. I always enjoyed learning a lot of things, diving into a lot of things, and being an expert at some and being okay-ish at many. But I totally get that that is not what everybody wants to do. But I think it is definitely where we're heading towards. I keep forgetting React syntax whenever I take 3 to 6 months of break. How to keep up? Well, that's kind of normal. If you take such a long break, it's normal to forget stuff. It's also normal to forget stuff if you use too much AI, for example. So yeah, there is. I think the solution is simply to build more and to actively use it. Use it or lose it. It's the same for programming as for everything else in life, I guess. I just built my first more complex project in React with Astro, used AWS for hosting, and learned Express.js and wrote a REST API. What would you recommend me to tackle next, React Native? So first of all, that's a pretty cool feat. Using all these different frameworks and technologies, setting up hosting on AWS and so on, that's really a cool thing to do. So for one, you could of course try to build an even more complex project with maybe more advanced features, maybe add authentication if you didn't have that yet, maybe use a different database, use some other AWS services. So that might be one thing. But of course, if you feel like going into mobile app development, definitely feel free to, especially since, of course, when building a mobile app, you very likely need a backend server, a REST API. You already built something like this, so you can do it again. So you can build up on those existing skills and add new skills, which might be pretty cool. So definitely also not a bad direction. Thoughts on PHP Laravel? Shared it before. Pretty amazing. I'm not actively using it right now, but I do like. I have used Laravel a lot 10 years ago, and it was always amazing. You could be super productive with it. So much amazing stuff built in. So yeah, it's an amazing library. Hi Max, please do a tutorial how to survive in a tent in the winter. I'll need that, and thanks for everything. I'm not sure if I would make it. Depends on how long I have to stay in the tent, but I think there are better outdoor channels out there than mine. Do I like Three.js? Yeah, I like Three.js, and I also, for example, I spent the time before Christmas to dive deeper into the Canvas API. I also wanted to dive deeper into Three.js, just didn't have the time for it. But I find all those libraries and technologies super amazing. And I really love what you can do with the browser these days. What you can build in the browser, be that games, be that video editing software. And sure, performance will always, I guess, most of the time be worse than if you had a native app. Also because the browser eats up a lot of memory and, well, it's an extra process that's running, of course. But still, what you can build in the browser these days is really just amazing. And since all people on the world essentially have a browser, they are all just one URL away from your application. That's always what made the web amazing. That's always what I loved about the web. Everybody can visit your application in a matter of seconds and can start using it, and you can build amazing stuff there. And that is amazing from a reach point of view. It's also simply amazing from a technical point of view. And you can start building games without learning a dedicated game engine. I really love it. what you can do with the browser, and 3JS is no exception. And I guess the game engine part is not totally true. If you want to build a serious game in the browser, you will also need one, but you get my point, I guess. Yeah, much love back to Brazil, Dev Apprender. Linux, macOS, or Windows laptop if money is no problem essentially for a developer using Next.js, React Router, and want to video calls. I mean, all will do. There is a lot of hype around Linux, Omachi by DHH especially. And I wanted to get back into Linux, more into Linux last year too. Also didn't have the time for that. Hopefully this year. Because, I mean, I work a lot with Linux when it comes to cloud stuff, deployment. But I mean, I'm talking about a Linux laptop. And I was that kind of guy that wished for a Linux distribution essentially back then for his, I guess, 14th or 15th birthday, and I got one. I got SUSE Linux back then, and I installed that on my Windows gaming machine back then, and I used it, and that's the last time I had a Linux computer, essentially a Linux machine, and I would love to get back into it, but that was not your question, sorry. So I guess you can all use all of that, and it really comes down to what you find interesting. If you want to do some gaming, maybe Windows is better. If you have an iPhone, maybe Mac OS is better because the entire ecosystem really these devices connect really well and you get some extra features. It's easy to transfer files from your phone to your Mac, for example. So that could be additional reasons, obviously. And if you just want to maybe hack around a bit and do stuff like this, dive a bit deeper into the operating system, maybe Linux is a good choice. But yeah. Any courses on DevOps and virtualization? I have a Docker course. I have a GitHub Actions course. And I definitely want to do more on DevOps and all that stuff. But no concrete plans right now. But I have those courses already. Will you teach a programming language other than those used for web dev? Good question. I mean, I primarily do web dev, so there's that. And I only teach what I know really well. There are many programming languages I find interesting. I want to get back into C and C++, for example, but I wouldn't teach it because I'm definitely not an expert at that. So, yeah, I have a Go course because I use a fair bit of Go. But that's essentially it. And I also use that for web development mostly. And some CLI tools, I guess. So it might change. I won't rule it out, but not right now. I went through your Next.js course, but I do not have industry experience, so I keep forgetting. How do I keep up? Same answer as before. You can only keep up by building stuff. That can be demo and fun projects, but you gotta build stuff. You gotta practice what you learned. That's the only way of keeping up. Thanks for the answer. Considering my old job where I was a team lead and mentor for front-end devs, I do think that's what a junior is normally doing, but I don't deem myself experienced enough to call myself a senior, even though... Okay, yeah, I got it. Do you agree Astro headless CMS is better over Next.js and headless CMS for marketing site clients? Yeah, I agree. Astro.js is an amazing framework for not just for static sites, but also for static sites. So my website, for example, is built with Astro.js. It's totally static, or it was totally static. Yeah, it still is. And it's really amazing for these kinds of sites. Gives you high performance websites, and Astro is really just fun to work with. Astro, I like it a lot. Working with Astro is just fun. There's no other way to put it. It's simple and at the same time powerful and gives you a lot of features, and you can also add server-side code if you want to, so you're not stuck at static sites. I absolutely recommend Astro. It's not better than Next.js per se. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the better, worse thing. But if you need a marketing site, a static site, Astro is definitely the way to go, I would say. I'm already a front-end dev. Should I move to the backend with Express? I find it more interesting with pure business logic. I would absolutely also pick up backend development as a front-end developer for the reasons I mentioned before, being a generalist and so on. I would absolutely dive into backend development. If it's Express, not too important, definitely start with it. You can always move to a different framework like Hano thereafter, but I would definitely dive into backend. Do you think it's worth it only using Cursor to leverage AI? I think Claude Code is better, but it's too expensive. So I think, how do I put it? There is this tendency on X especially to always have one favorite and everything else is bad. And I'm not a fan of that. The fact is, in my opinion, Cursor, GitHub Copilot, Claude Code, Open Code, probably Windsurf, haven't used it, are all great. I'm a heavy user of Cursor. I'm a heavy user of Claude Code, also because I want to create content on that, so I have to work with it. I have to gather experience, so that's why I'm using multiple tools. But ultimately, they're all pretty good, is my opinion. So I think you can absolutely use Cursor instead of Claude Code. Claude Code might be better sometimes in some aspects, and then maybe with the next update, Cursor is better again. Yeah. What's more important is the model. It must work well together with the IDE. Opus 4.5, for example, works excellent with Claude Code and also Cursor in my experience, and that's the more important part in my opinion. I never really believed magic until I see you teaching. Wow, thank you so much. Don't know what to say. That's too kind. Thank you so much. Thanks. I always appreciate your objective and detailed approach in this AI hype era. It's refreshing. So yeah, I try my best to share my honest views, and they are that things are changing, but I'm really not a fan of. We're living in a world where hype is what you have to do to get attention. And to some degree, I also have to follow that rule. I mean, if you look at my YouTube videos, obviously, the titles, the thumbnails, I try to get some clicks there, but I try to provide good videos. I try to make those clicks worth your while. And I'm not a fan of all the rage bait and all the useless hype that's sometimes out there. So yeah, I try to find a middle ground, and I'm happy to hear that it's working for you. So thank you so much. How to be better at prompts in coding, like getting curated best codes with less prompts. Like everything else, that is kind of a skill you have to develop. I know, boring answer, but it is true. It's also something that will definitely change over the next year, over this year, I mean, because tools will change, Cursor will change. Certain things might not be necessary anymore. I mean, like a year ago, it was way more important, at least to me, it felt like it was way more important to explicitly include the files you wanted Cursor to work on, or other coding tools. Now it's better at automatically finding the right files. That's my feeling, at least. So things change, and therefore there is no single strategy here. To get better at prompting, like with everything else, you have to do it. You have to do it, and important, you have to carefully analyze the results and draw conclusions from that. If you consistently get bad results, maybe your prompts are too vague or too broad. So yeah, it's really a practice thing, but as I mentioned, I also want to share more content on that, on what I do. That's not necessarily perfect, but it might be helpful. So that could then also be helpful, and I'll try to share more on that soon. I've been writing most of my code with AI. Now I'm having a hard time writing code on my own. I always reach out to the AI. Do you think that is okay? That is a good question. So I think if you write most of your code with AI, that's not necessarily a big problem. Or no, that's the wrong way to put it. That is maybe where we're heading to. I also let AI write a lot of my code. I still understand the code though. I look at it, I review it, I give AI clear instructions regarding which patterns I want it to use or what it needs to change, and I don't just say, make the button blue. I make the button blue myself. I don't just say, yeah, I don't know, make it prettier. I try to be more specific. I try to say, use the motion library for animating this, for adding a fade in animation, whatever. I hope you get my point. So I think you still should be able to understand the code. If you have AI generate the code and you don't understand it, that is not good. If you just have a hard time writing it, but you understand what's being produced, that might actually be okay, I think. If you're then able to edit it and to, well, as I said, understand it maybe. I wish I don't have a final exam so that I can watch. Yeah, you can watch it tomorrow too. The live stream will stay online, and unlike before, I will not upload it on my second channel. I'll just leave it here on this channel under the live tab. Which backend and which database do you use the most? For backend, either I use a full stack solution like TanStack Start or Next.js, or I use something like Hono and Bun. And for the database, it's SQLite or Postgres, pretty much all the time. Is it good to suggest web development for freshers who don't know software or cybersecurity or Java? Ultimately, the thing is, people have to find on their own what they're interested in. Web development, as I said before, has definitely seen easier days. At the same time, I'm convinced there are many opportunities and there will be much demand for software, including websites, web development. But it's definitely more challenging. Cybersecurity might seem safer. It's also to some degree a bit more niche though. So, and most importantly, if it's not interesting, if you're not interested in cybersecurity, you're not going to be good at it, and then it's not a good choice. So you can't decide purely on what's theoretically good, I think. You have to be interested. If you are interested, cybersecurity is definitely a good choice. And Java is definitely a good choice. I mean, Java is kind of not popular, and then at the same time, it's super popular. It's getting used everywhere. And so Java, of course, is also a good choice. How can a fresher survive this AI era? I'm getting demotivated day by day. Please show me a way. I really love coding, but how do I survive? Man, I totally get it. And as I said before, it's definitely rough out there. It's been easier days for sure. I shared some thoughts already. I hope they were helpful. In the end, the sad truth from that perspective is that it is challenging. The good news is that every challenging environment also creates opportunities, because people will drop out, because some people will not adapt, because some people don't want to adapt plainly and will switch. I guess that's what I mean with drop out. But that will open up opportunities. And as I said before, I don't believe in the need for developers disappearing entirely. The need for people that only write code, yeah. And believe me, I am sad that writing code is not as important anymore. I do enjoy working with AI. I do enjoy that I can ship stuff, that I can build stuff I probably couldn't have built before, because of the speed boost, because I can dive into topics far easier than before if I don't know anything about them. For all these reasons, I like AI. I like building stuff. But I'm not one of these people that say, I never cared about the code. I always just wanted to build stuff, because I cared about the code and I enjoyed code and writing code. I enjoyed the flow state you could get into where you would just sit at your laptop and for maybe 8 hours straight write code. I loved it. And I find it very sad that this seems to be going away. Sure, I can still do it for my personal joy, but I don't get as much joy out of it when I know that it's not really the way to do it anymore necessarily. And it definitely feels like it's changing, yeah. So I totally get this, but from a pure career perspective, opportunity perspective, I think there are opportunities out there. Hi Max, thank you for your amazing course. You helped me with all these in my life, and now I can feel safe and confident about the future. Thank you from Greece. Thank you back to Greece for these amazing words. And I don't know what to say. something like this is always amazing. Hearing about the impact of the content of the courses and that it gives you confidence means a lot to me. So thank you so much. Could you tell I want to go abroad for my bachelor degree, but there is a question: can I work at a software company and study both at the same time, or should I do that job which is provided by them? So you want to go abroad? Can I work? I mean, you have to talk to that company, I guess. In theory, as a developer, it should be doable to work remote and go abroad and at the same time work as a side job, as I understand it, if you study at the same time. But that is only something your company can answer. In theory, it of course should be doable, I guess. But yeah, that's all I can say to that, I guess. Do I recommend SAT? Never tried it. Good question. SAT is a code editor, and SAT is a code editor that I would love to use exclusively. And I'm dabbling around with it here and there. I'm just so used to Visual Studio Code and Cursor. It's the same kind of, obviously, that I can't really make the switch, because there are certain extensions or features or simply just shortcuts I'm used to, which I could change, of course. But yeah, for some reason I haven't made the switch. But SAT is really fast, and I like the look, I like the feel of it. So yeah, I can recommend it, but I guess that's only partially true because at the same time I'm not using it, not exclusively. Maybe in the future. My 11-year-old wants to get started with programming. Do you have any recommendations on where to start with a kid? I'm not sure if web is the right move. I think web has the advantage that you can immediately see something when you build it. When you learn something else, maybe outside of mobile development, where it's the same. If you learn something else, if you learn Rust, which is not ideal for an 11-year-old probably, but then again, I started with C, so maybe it is. But if you learn something like this, you only work in the command line. You build command line applications initially, because building GUIs is definitely more challenging. So I think web development is a good place to start because you see something on the screen, because you can build interactive applications, which I guess is more fun. Or, as I said, mobile app development could also be interesting. A bit more setup work initially, typically, but once you got Xcode or Android Studio set up, that could be fun too. But I guess that would be my recommendations nowadays. Back in my days, we didn't have mobile apps, and websites, of course, were a thing. But when I got started, we didn't even have internet, so or not good internet, I guess. So yeah, I didn't care as much about web development back then, which is why I started with C. But yeah, things changed, and that would be my recommendation. Do you think that the development in international politics may eventually drag users in the European Union back from such resources like one provided by Google or Amazon? No, I don't think so. There will always be people that don't want to use these US companies. I'm not one of them. I want to use what's best or what's good. And, well, in Europe, we don't have competitors to those big US companies. That's very sad. I would love that to be different, but it is what it is. So I don't see that changing. But I would love it if we would get a big tech company here in Europe. I just don't see it right now. I'm taking your React course, but I kind of fell off and haven't been able to continue. Any tips for getting back on track and stay motivated? First of all, I wouldn't feel pressured to go through it entirely. It's a huge course, so don't feel that pressure. Instead, go through the essential sections step by step and start building stuff. And then come back to selected sections once you build some stuff and you want to dive deeper or you're facing a specific problem. That would be my recommendation to stay motivated. Is it a smart business model to specialize on converting clients from WordPress to Astro? Good question. I'm not sure how willing clients are to migrate. Back in my freelance days, when I got started as a freelancer 10 years ago, I found it very hard to convince people to change their tech stack. Even if I had convincing advantages, they didn't want to do that. And I kind of understand it, to be honest, which was pretty great because what I did is I just learned more about their tech stack and, yeah, was able to charge a bit more to some degree. Because if it was a very specific tech stack and there wasn't a lot of competition and other freelancers weren't willing to learn it, that worked well for me. Now, WordPress is obviously not very exotic, but the main point just is I think clients often don't want to switch. So if you can sell it really well, why they would want to switch, obviously could be a good strategy. Max, I'm beginning a new huge project that will be web driven on the UI and have difficulties deciding between using web components or React. What would be your take? Definitely React. Web components are great in theory, but in practice have problems, and you will be able to move much faster with React because it's about more than just the components also. And with all the ecosystem you get with React, you will be able to move faster, I would say. So yeah, hi everybody. Hi, thanks so much for all the nice messages. From which country are the people on my YouTube channel? Are you planning to expand courses for short video courses, YouTube Shorts and so on? Yeah. So most people are from the US, India, Germany, Europe in general. Yeah, that's the mix. But US is the biggest country. Do I plan shorter courses? Yes, absolutely. Short, but still good, of course. Do I do short form video on Instagram and YouTube Shorts? I play around with YouTube Shorts, maybe Instagram in the future. It's really I'm old. It's really not my world, but I understand that it's important. I understand that people are using it, and I'm trying to figure out how I can use these formats in a way that still provides value. That's the plan. Which apps do you use on your PC, Mac, except IDEs and Calendar? Any good hints? Well, I use Slack in my company for communication, Discord for my community. Not a big Discord fan though, but yeah, it is what it is. OBS for video recording, Affinity for photo editing, DaVinci Resolve for video editing. I'm just looking at my bar down there. Yeah, I don't have that many programs. Since I get sometimes asked, this program with which I draw on the screen, that is called, where is it? That is called, I know it's hidden, give me a second. That is called Demo Pro. So that's a little tool I use. But yeah, I try to keep my Mac relatively clean and lean. Where do I see the dev career environment in 5 to 10 years due to AI? That is impossible to answer. I'd love to know, but I have no idea. I'm sure there still will be developers, but I don't know how that looks like then. I really don't know. I don't believe in that world where in 5 years robots will do everything. I also, by the way, to get philosophical, don't think that it would be good for humanity if we had robots do everything, but that's a different thing. Thought it was ironic about you saying modern CSS can be used instead of Tailwind. Now the Tailwind is having finance issues. Did you curse them? I hope I did not. Yeah, so the thing is, I really think vanilla CSS is worth a try. I know many developers don't like it, but nowadays AI can write the code. You can tell it what to write or which features to use. And I personally use more vanilla CSS in some of my projects now. But yeah, I absolutely want Tailwind to do well. I mean, it's an amazing library. They're doing amazing work. I use it in most of my projects. And yeah, I don't want them to fail just because I think vanilla is also good. For someone who's learning technology mainly to earn money, enjoys solving complex problems, and likes tinkering, what is the fastest and most effective way to start earning in the tech field? I mean, I can mostly only speak for web development, which is by far not the only field here, and maybe not the most lucrative. We had it before. Cybersecurity might be more interesting. especially if you enjoy complex problems. So that might be a good call. Anything related to AI, building agentic systems, getting good at that. It's evolving so quickly. There are so many opportunities opening and closing every day. That might be interesting. These are some of the areas from the top of my mind. Definitely not the only thing you can build or learn, but that might be interesting. And yeah, cybersecurity especially might definitely be a look, but you really have to be interested and find it interesting. Otherwise, you won't be good. But I mentioned that before. What's my opinion on WebStorm as an IDE? Used it a lot in the past, liked it a lot. Haven't used it in the last, I don't know, 5 years, so don't have a strong opinion on it. Love Angular and learned by your courses many years ago. Today I'm a tech lead at my company. What do you think about using Gen AI to help improve accessibility in UI UX apps? That is, I think generally, using generative AI for improving code, for using more semantically correct HTML tags, improving accessibility in a broad variety of ways, providing translations maybe. All that are amazing use cases. And the great thing is AI can do it. You just often have to tell it. For example, when it comes to accessibility, AI can be super useful there. By default, it just often is not. But if you provide explicit prompts, give it the right skills, the right context, and so on, it can be an amazing tool for that. That is what I try to use it for, what I try to do, and it can be really great for that. Yeah. I've been working at the same software company for the last 5 years. As a front-end dev, I learned a lot from your Angular and RxJS courses back in the day. Wow, that's amazing. The RxJS series on YouTube, that's amazing. I always find it amazing if there are people who were around back then, because that's like, what, almost 10 years ago. So yeah, so awesome. Haven't seen you create new courses. What happened? I'm working on an update which should hopefully be out next week. Kind of small, not small update. But yeah, what happened? Obviously, a lot of stuff is changing with AI, and I'm trying my best to keep up with it, and I have to learn about it too, because I'm not one of those people where a technology drops today and I release the best course tomorrow. I want to get good at it. I want to learn it and combine that with some personal stuff. But I haven't quit on creating courses or content. Quite the opposite. Got a lot of things planned, and I hope it will be very helpful. What stack would you use for your clients as a freelancer so you can really focus on deep dive into it? Is Next.js and Supabase a good combination? It really depends if your clients have a specific expectation or not. If not, yeah, Next.js, Supabase sounds like a good combination. I'm not a Supabase expert, but I know you can be very productive with it. Laravel PHP might be another good alternative. Astro.js for more marketing heavy static sites could be a good alternative. Yeah, but I think that would be some of the tech stacks or some of the technologies I would look into. Your ES6 course, bro, that was really good. That's amazing. Another oldie course, but yeah, thank you so much. Happy that was helpful. Any tips on how to get into DevOps, especially junior role? It seems like no one is looking for juniors, so there is no way to get experience. Yeah, we talked about that before. The junior problem is there. I'm confident it will get a bit better this year, but it will stay challenging for sure. Any tips for getting into DevOps? Probably, unfortunately, the same tip as always. And as I also shared in another YouTube video, you will want, obviously, a portfolio. For DevOps, that would include some CI/CD configuration stuff. Might include some AWS stuff, depending on what you're looking for. And then connections. Some social media presence won't hurt, and I totally understand that not everybody wants to get an influencer. You just want to get a job, but in order to stand out, connections and like appearing on social media and stuff like that will be important, I'm afraid. And I know that's not what everybody wants to hear. It's just my 2 cents. There might be other ways, but I think that is something I would find important to do. The question here is cut off, I think. Yeah, so again, thank you all for the very nice messages. I have a good 4 years of experience in React, JavaScript, TypeScript, learned about Python. Now I want to leverage that Python learning and use it with AI. What next should I learn? Well, if you want to use your Python knowledge with AI, I would, for example, pick up something like LangChain, LangGraph to build agentic systems, AI systems with AI and Python. That might be interesting. That might be a good next step, for example. Yeah. So that's the first thing that would come to my mind there. What UI sketching prototyping tools do you like best? I often sketch and prototype in code, and now with AI, that's easier than ever before, I would say, because code quality then also isn't too important, and you can quickly try out different sketches and mockups. So that's what I do these days. And other than that, I like these drawing apps. I'm building my own right now, which I also like for my videos. But yeah, when it comes to programming, I do it in code mostly. Am I planning a full stack course? I might want to do something on TanStack, which TanStack Start, which I guess technically is full stack then. And I would love to do some project courses where we dive into a very specific project and build that from start to deployment, which then also would be full stack very likely. What's the hardest project to build on your own? The hardest project, of course, doesn't exist, but a project obviously gets hard if it has many different building blocks. If you implement something like a queuing system for sending mass email efficiently without crashing the email server or exceeding some quotas. If you have different forms of authentication in there, if you have file storage on S3 or R2. So if you have different building blocks, if you really make it production grade, if you worry about things like if a user uploads an image in your application, let's say, for example, again, build my graphic, which I built, my side project. If you generate a graphic in there, it's private for you. You can view it with the link to the graphic, but if you share the link with someone else, they can't view it. Sounds trivial, is not that hard to do, but it's also not something you will see in every project out there. So stuff like that makes projects hard, I would say. If you really think about ways how an app could be abused by users, about potential security issues, and you then try to tackle those, that is what makes a project hard. And that is what you should implement, no matter if you're building an online shop or an image generation app or anything else. What do you think about the growing amount of digital trash on the World Wide Web caused by AI? Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. I read the statistics that, what is it, like 60% of all the content on the internet is generated by AI. It's just horrible. I said it before. If we wouldn't have AI, this form of AI, it wouldn't be bad, but it's here. But yeah, not a fan of it, of that part specifically, I mean. Where is Manu? He was sitting in the office behind me. I think he's gone now, went home, but he's here, or he's still alive. Building agentic AI systems would be a great career future. I guess so, yeah. But it's such a fast-changing field. You will need to be able to adapt quickly, for sure. How can I get ahead of it and get a junior dev? Because I feel like in 10 months, I'm very bad now because you didn't use the skills in 10 months. Well, just build stuff. Start building stuff again. Use AI as a helper to ask it for explanations. Don't let it write all the code. I've said it before, and I know it's boring, but really build stuff. That is how you get back into it. It's like everything in life. If you want to get better speaking Italian, you gotta speak it. You don't get better by just thinking about it. So yeah, that's a sad reality. do I think I could make my courses more interactive by creating an AI trainer? Yeah, definitely something I'm thinking about. Has a lot of gotchas, but that does not mean that you can't make it happen. It's just a reason why it's not there yet, I guess. Because if I do something, I want to have something that works well, that is good, that is fun to use or work with. Is Build My Graphic open source? No, it's not. But as I said, I want to create more courses or content on projects, maybe not specifically that project, but other projects. And I would love to share more how to build real projects with AI and all that fun stuff. With AI, it's now expected from you to deliver more. I'm not sure if AI actually makes developer lives better. Yeah, as I said, it's definitely gotten rougher for a lot of reasons. And that expectation is one of them. I think, by the way, that expectation will kind of shift. The expectation will be that there is more output, and that will stay that way. But I think executives will at some point realize that there is a trade-off, and it's not worth it just having more, because more isn't always better. But we're definitely not at this point yet. So right now, it's definitely rough. What's the best tool to use AI agents? I'm not sure what you mean. Like N8N is great if you want to build a no-code agent workflow. LangChain is good with Python. The Agent SDK is great with TypeScript. These are the tools I know and use. So, I gotta wrap it up soon. So, last couple of questions. Any tips on how I should go through the sudden software development role layoff? How I should go with resume updating? Yeah, I guess I already answered that. And again, this live stream will stay online here on the live tab. It should, at least, I hope. Yeah, but in the end, yeah, I answered it before. So even if you missed it, just skip through the live stream recording later. I'll try to answer a couple of other questions. Will I create an AI course on Udemy Coursera? I don't know what the future of Udemy Coursera will be, and therefore don't know mine, unfortunately. Any course for me to become an expert full stack designer or architect? I want to do more courses, as I said, project courses on architecting systems and stuff like that, for sure, but I don't have that course just yet. Yeah, but sorry for the questions I didn't manage to answer. I hope it was helpful. I gotta go, unfortunately. This was a lot of fun. I'll do it again. As I mentioned, I'll try to stream on most Thursdays, same time. The recording of this stream will stay online. I hope I could share some thoughts about AI, what to do as a developer, how to stand out with being a generalist, specialist, being present on social media, knowing how to work with AI and all that fun stuff. I hope this was helpful. But yeah, I have opinions about open code. It's great. But yeah, I'm sorry if I was not able to provide an in-depth answer to the very question you maybe asked. I hope to go through them. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day, evening, morning, whatever it is for you. Hopefully see you back in the future. And I wish you all the best. This was fun. I'll do it again. Bye-bye.